Hello, welcome to Spotlight, a glow of creative hope in the autumn mists.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
This evening, we hear from world-famous wildlife artist Jeremy Paul as he hosts an exhibition of his work at Gallery 42 in Port St Mary. Catch up with LitFest 23 to see how preparations have gone. And hear more from poet Simon Maddrell about his award-nominated poem inspired by Knockaloe Camp. Remember, do get in touch with any creative artistic endeavours you might be involved in, you're planning, hoping to create, or would really like to put in the spotlight. Poetic, visual, theatrical, musical, literary, mime. It goes on forever, doesn't it? Howard Kane at manxradio.com, Spotlight at manxradio.com. I'll read them both. Now, wildlife artist Jeremy Paul, renowned around the globe for his incredible, beautiful work, inspired by the wonders of the natural world. You might also have seen his work in miniature, as it were, quite recently, featured on a set of Manx stamps celebrating the island's resident birds of prey. He's also been delighted in recent weeks to announce that the Woodson Art Museum, right the way over in Wisconsin, USA, which holds an annual Birds in Art exhibition, it's one of the preeminent exhibitions of its type, and they've recently chosen one of his paintings to be added to their permanent collection. Quite an honour, I believe. Well, he joined Christy DeHaven on 1 to 3 to chat more about that, the stamps, and his exhibition in Port St Mary.
Yes, it opened a few weeks ago at Studio 42, the little framer studio gallery down in Port St Mary. So, do come along and have a look. It's got something like 30-odd new paintings, including the original artwork for this set of stamps that have just come out.
Lovely. Now, I'm very pleased to say you have the set of stamps
with
you. Talk us through them then.
Yes.
What's on the stamps?
Well, I was asked to do a new set of birds, and I thought, well, they wanted 6 stamps. There are 6 birds of prey species which we see regularly on the Isle of Man. So I wanted to concentrate on the sort of the eye of the bird because they're just fantastic things to paint, birds of prey. So I've done these portraits of the 6 birds of prey that can be regularly seen around the island.
And I didn't realise there were 6.
Yeah, it's a convenient number to go on a set of 6 stamps. So we do get the odd other species dropping by, but these are the resident ones really. So.
And you do spend a lot of time out with wildlife, don't you, and sort of observing them. So are you a keen bird watcher?
Yes, I'm not a twitcher. You know, I just go out, and if I see something great, and it's a great excuse. I can pretend I'm working, basically. So I'm always out sort of with my camera. And here on the island, we're so lucky in the range of birds and just the sheer number of birds that we can see. I mean, down at Langness, I can be down at Langness or the chasms and watching seabirds and things, and then up in the hills within 10 minutes of where I live. I mean, it's a wonderful place for birds.
We're very fortunate. We were just talking off air there, and you're saying, to be honest, when in comparison to many other places, we're very fortunate even. I think there'd be people who are quite jealous of what we can see here. Yeah,
I mean, it really, there are places in the UK, obviously, which have lots of birds, but it's just the variety and in such sort of close areas where you can find all the different things. So,
well, if you want a little sort of indication as to what you're looking for, then there you go. There's a new set of stamps, and you can check them out on there. I take it the paintings themselves aren't stamp sized, are they? What sort of size
they're a bit
are the
bigger.
paintings?
They're about 10 by 10 inches. They were good to work on, good to paint. It's over a year since I did them. It's a long time ago now, but
and obviously you've done it before. But I'm assuming it's a very different approach when you're creating artwork for a stamp because of the nature of the dimensions and
so you've got to be careful with the design. You have to leave a space for the value and the it's actually got Charles's cipher rather than his head on it, because it was before they had the new image to go on the stamp, and you have to make it so the backgrounds are all slightly different, so the postman or post office can know exactly what value it is without really studying it. So there's a bit of forethought has to go into it. So but they've come out really well. I mean, these are, I think, about the 10th set of stamps I've done. it's 25 years since I did the first ones, which I found very hard to believe.
What were the first ones?
That was actually a set of owl stamps in 1997.
My word.
Yeah, a long time ago. So
that's another bird I've never seen on the Isle of Man. And I know we have owls. I have never seen one over here.
Yeah.
I need to look harder.
They're harder to find.
That's
to
probably
be fair. Yeah,
different times of day as well,
yes,
I think, probably. Yeah. But if people do want to come down and see the exhibition at Studio 42, what are the sort of opening times down there?
Yeah, this week, there's a bit of hiatus this week because Eben's away. So we're only open 1 till 3 Wednesday, Thursday. It's actually closed on Friday and then open 1 till 3 on Saturday. And then it's back to normal openings, which is Wednesday to Saturday from next week, and it's on until October the 14th.
And the lucky people may actually meet you down there because you're playing shopkeeper.
I will be manning the exhibition, yes, next couple of days. So, yes, if you want to come in and have a chat, please do.
We were just talking off air, though, about music, and you're a fan of a particular genre, aren't you?
Oh, I'm very much 70s prog rock. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Good shout.
Sort of, yes, the early Genesis.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd, etc., etc.
I'm sure we can put some Pink Floyd on for you in a little bit, of course. It's wonderful stuff, and we were talking about Roger Dean and his amazing artwork for albums and things. Would you ever consider doing something like that, sort of album artwork or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I do quite a lot of licensing of my work anyway. It's appeared on, I mean, most successfully on T-shirts, and in which actually one of them was spotted on a Rihanna video.
I'm sorry?
Yes, one of my T-shirts was being worn by one of her backing dancers on a Rihanna video.
That's extraordinary. That is extraordinary.
It's really weird. You sit and you do this painting in, my little studio in Colby, and then they sometimes take a life of their own. John Cleese was seen wearing the same T-shirt on the One Show a couple of years ago.
What was this image? What was the image on the
It's a lion,
T-shirt?
just a portrait of a lion. Jack Black has been seen wearing it.
This is an incredible list.
The Rihanna video, I mean, my daughter spotted it and said, "Whoa, look what I've just found."
Amazing.
Yeah.
And with things like that, is it? I don't know. Would they ever be attributed to you in any way? I suppose it can't be. It's just the image itself.
No,
isn't
it's
it?
just. Well, I get a little royalty for every T-shirt, basically.
Yeah.
So and it's done very well over the years. So.
What an audience! So with John Cleese's fans, Rihanna's
he didn't
fans,
look
and
very
Jack
good
Black
in it,
fans.
I have to say.
Did he not? Maybe not quite the same as a Rihanna backing dancer,
No.
I'd imagine,
No.
but that's still quite what an achievement. That's amazing. And also an achievement which we found out about recently through yourself is that you have been selected to be part of a very prestigious collection, haven't you? Tell us about this.
Well, there's an exhibition takes place every year in Wisconsin, which is hardly the centre of the art world, but it is for bird artists. There's every year there's an exhibition called Birds in Art, and it's grown to be the most prestigious exhibition for artists from around the world, and they have over 1,000 entries. You have to submit a painting, and they choose about 60 to be exhibited. I first learnt about birds in art back in 1981 when I was a marine biologist, and I saw the touring exhibition, which was in London at the Natural History Museum, and I just started sort of painting birds and things, and I thought, I'll never get into this. But anyway, I got in for the first time back in 1994, and I thought, oh wow, I've sort of I've made it. And then it took another 13 years before I got painting selected again. But since then, I've sort of been in quite a few times. And this year, I had a painting which was of a lake in Madagascar with some flamingos in it. And heard a couple of weeks ago that they want to add it to their permanent collection, which
wonderful.
is a real thrill.
That is wonderful.
So,
that Jeremy Paul from years back thinking I think I'm going to be a wildlife artist, and now in the permanent collection of that very exhibition.
Yeah, it's quite, when I think about it, it's quite an achievement, and from very early sort of drawings and paintings, which I'll be honest, weren't particularly good, to what I achieve now. It's been a long, slow progression, shall we say?
And why do you think they chose that particular painting, the flamingos?
It's It's slightly the composition is slightly different. It's looking across a lake, and there's just this line of pinkish white birds going across the middle of it. So it's not your normal sort of portrait of a flamingo.
And Jeremy's most recent exhibition on the island is running at Studio 42, Port St Mary. It continues through until October the 14th. Around 35 new paintings there, and the originals of the recent Birds of Prey stamp issue. And the artist himself could well be there if you want to have a bit of a chat.
Spotlight, brought to you by the Isle of Man Arts Council.
We heard from poet Simon Maddrell last week, and how a recent visit to Knockaloe camp outside Peel led to poetic inspiration for a largely uncurated story about the men interned in the massive camp during the First War, some of whom were pictured presenting as women. His poem's already been highly commended in the McClellan Poetry Competition, and you can hear him read the poem on the podcast of last week's Spotlight. I went on to ask Simon about how important it was to him to use his poetry to paint a picture of a more open and inclusive society. Is it important for you as a gay guy then to sort of, as you say, using poetry, get the truth out there to the audience?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think one of the abiding things for me as a kid is not seeing myself anywhere. So, you think you're alone. You think what you've got, is something unique because it's not talked about in school. The only representations, for me were Liberace and John Inman. And you laugh because that's what we were. That was the role in life, an object of fun and derision that isn't really real or worthy of anything else. So being able to see successful people being represented for who they were, there can be a debate about language, but, was Wilfred Owen primarily attracted to men? The answer is almost 99% categorically yes. Now, whether one should call him homosexual or gay is a different debate, I think. But so I think not just it's important to recognise the truth about certain people, but equally not to put a filter over things like the photographs. So the photographs, for example, some of the, yes, there are a lot of pictures of men presenting as women on stage, but they also chose to dress up as waitresses and ticket collectors. That wasn't a need for the play to exist. There's one, very striking photograph of what looks like a married couple outside one of the huts. So completely separate from the theatres. So there's a lot of evidence, and I quoted some of the evidence too, but there's a lot of evidence that points to there being a whole range of reasons why that was the case, and that all of us somewhere are in there. You probably, hopefully, would recognise. Well, I would have been like Gustav, or I would have been like Hervig, or I would have been the one that wanted to recreate that feeling of home. And I would have wanted to flirt like a trooper. So I think it's important to be able to express that, because if you think about it, at the peak, there's 24,000 men in that camp.
Yeah, it's massive.
Now, the balance of probabilities are that there was a very large, there was quite a considerable number of what we would now call transsexuals, and there was an even bigger number of gay or bisexual men. And so, and equally there would have been people of various sexualities that would have been used to performing as women on stage. I know we've got certain people like Michael Joseph who like to demonize drag queens, but and somehow separate them from our long tradition of experiencing men dressing up as women and having a bit of fun. In fact, quite often saucy sexualized fun that children don't notice. But that's existed since Kingdom Come, and for me, the importance of the poem was to shine a light on that whole range of possibilities, not trying to pretend that every woman who dressed as a man was a transsexual or was gay, but that actually some of them would have been, just as some of them were doing it for a laugh.
Would you like to see this theme and explored more actually at Knockaloe? Because as you say, it is very much part of the camp's history.
Yes, I would. I mean, it's for sure. I mean, I have sent them the poem.
Yeah, I was going to say it'd be nice to have that perhaps up on display. Yeah.
I mean, that was, at the same time I sent it to you, so I wouldn't necessarily have expected a response as yet. But it'll be interesting to see how they view it.
Yeah.
We all like to be recognised, don't we? Because it validates our own existence. And I don't think anyone is going to be. I don't think anyone's harmed by reminders that the diversity of human existence isn't a new thing.
Always a pleasure to catch up with Simon. If you haven't already, check out his work online. You can always chat to him online as well. He's always happy to ping back an email or a text, I'm certain. And of course, you ought to check out the museum at Knockaloe. Finally this week, it's almost that time again, would you believe. LitFest 23 gets underway on the 26th of September. That's next Tuesday if you haven't checked it out. To find out how preparations have been going in the run-up to the first day, I spoke to one of the directors for the festival, Helen Jessup. Has it all been plain sailing?
Well, I'm just going to say they've been smooth as anything. Nothing has gone wrong at all. We were totally prepared for our headliner to pull out and for all of that to happen.
And is that all true?
Some of it. No, it's been fine. I'm really lucky. I've got an absolutely fantastic team behind me, and I couldn't have asked for a great group of people. This is the first year that I've taken on the role of director. This is the first year where I've sort of been spearheading a lot of it, and they have been brilliant, and they've made everything go really, really well behind the scenes. And even though we did have a bit of a eek moment when Sophie Hannah got in touch and said she'd cancelled all of her September-October events this year, after the initial panic meltdown, after that we were like, okay, so that's that. Let's concentrate on what we do have going on, because we've got loads and loads of brilliant events. There's no need to focus in on this one that's had a little bit of an upset, and I'm really proud of what we've got left and the festival we've put together. I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Terrific stuff. Let's give a little breakdown of what's actually happening outside of, like I said, the one sort of enforced change there might have been. I'm taking the rest of it has gone pretty much as is, and as people might have seen earlier on.
Yes, everything else is still happening. So we've still got all of the workshops, the poetry night, the gin night, lots of other things going on, something for children, sort of a family event at the family library with children's authors, illustrators. Children can come and do like a draw along, come and have some books read to them by these authors we've got coming over. Yes, there's still lots and lots going on.
So opening event, when's that?
That is on the Tuesday, so Tuesday the 26th of September, which feels really, really close now.
It is getting close now, yep.
With the Book Fanatics quiz, and we've got a good load of teams for that now, so there's still a few tickets going for most of the events, including that one. So if people want to show off how much they know about books, or if they just want to laugh, and show off how little they know, that's always a good night. And I have been told that the quizmaster, who is notorious for leaving it to the last minute to put the quiz together, has already started making it this year.
Well,
so it should be, we should have some really, really good questions, some interactive rounds going on, and it's always such a good laugh. So.
And that always pulls in quite a crowd, and like I said, a popular event. What follows on from that on the early days? So
we've got our sort of what we call LitFest proper, with a visiting speaker on the Wednesday with Fiona Lang, who is a gin and food writer, who's coming to do an event at Fanadery Distillery up in Ramsey.
I can see that being popular.
Oh, yeah. We seem to be a nation of gin drinkers now. It's very popular drink, and Fiona has been all over the world, visiting distilleries and talking to the people there who run them about what inspires the gin that they're making. And obviously we've got the Fanadery who are making ones that are inspired by the seasons and inspired by folklore. So she's partnered up with those for an evening of, stories about where gin comes from, where it's made, how it's made, and the people who are making it. And then there's also a drink on arrival, which is included in the ticket price. And then Fanadery are going to be leading like a sample session as well. So you get a chance to sample some of their more popular gins, which is, who could ask for more? It's books and gin.
Got to be good, isn't it? Got to be
Yeah.
good. But actually sort of going into more sort of fact-based things like I said, food writing and writing in those sort of genres, is this sort of a new venture from that point of view, trying to broaden it out?
So we did have a gin writer come over a few years ago who did a book about, like the 100 gins you have to drink before you die sort of book. And that was very popular. But, sort of those sort of non-fiction writers are few and far between, really, in ways that we can tie into what we've got over here. So, and fiction writing is so big that when we're putting feelers out to authors and poets and illustrators, the vast majority of responses we get back are from fiction writers, because they're always keen to promote their book, whereas non-fiction writers tend to have a niche, and they know that within that niche it's going to sell. And coming to a small festival isn't always on the agenda for them because they're not sure that they're going to be able to hit that niche. But obviously with gin, you can't go wrong.
Onto a winner.
Yeah.
So in the more traditional, like you say, in the fiction based, what have we got coming up there then after the gin?
So we've got it's mostly the children's authors that we've got now. So Clara Vulliamy, who's the daughter of Shirley Hughes, who writes her own books. She's going to be doing a joint event with illustrator Jenny Lovely at the Family Library. Sophie Hannah, who was our headliner, is still doing her masterclass online, but that won't be going into any detail about her books at this point. It's all about how to write books. So if you're interested in fiction on that side of things, then we've got plenty of events that are about the writing and about workshopping and the industry itself and getting published. But yeah, it's the rest of the events are mostly around children's fiction, poetry, and the workshoppy, masterclassy type things. And then we've got another non-fiction event closing out the festival with Elise, who's a coastal runner and inspirational speaker, and who's written an incredibly funny book about running the coast of Britain while being completely unprepared to do so. And the book's so honest and so funny, and she goes into, I really didn't have any plans to do this, and then one day I decided that I was going to do it, and I'm scared of cows, but I did it anyway. And it's a really, really good, funny book. And I think even if non-fiction isn't really your thing, it's written in such a way that's really accessible, and I think a lot of people will enjoy that. And that seems to have been quite popular, actually, that event already. We've got some tickets left, but it's sold really well so far.
And LitFest 23 gets underway next Tuesday, the 26th of September, runs through until Sunday, the 1st of October. That's about it for this week. Don't forget, if you want to hear anything again, go to manxradio.com, download the Spotlight podcast, listen where and when you want. Why not try it whilst tidying your library? Or at least dusting your bookshelves. See you next week when we hear about the Festival of Plays from Madfa 2024. Until then, look after yourselves. Whatever you're doing, be creative about it. Cheerio.